On page 119 and 120, we have the 4 most used major scales played in the 4th position. They are G major scale, D major, and if you look on page 120, A major, and E major. We'll start with the G major scale. The G major scale is in the 4th position, but it's fingering type 1A. So our first note and our root is a finger stretch to the 3rd fret. And then we stretch again. Fingering type 1A. Here's the exercise, G major, 4th position. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a measure in this exercise that you have to flatten your 2nd finger. In the 3rd measure of the 3rd line, when I play E to C, I have to play, taking it from the 2nd measure in the 3rd line, Bill always wrote interesting exercises, and he really always had a plan, using harder intervals as the book progresses, using more accidentals, more rhythms, harder positions. So if you're on page 119, he's saying, yeah, I can throw a couple of things at you without even saying anything and seeing if you could play it. The 2nd scale in the 4th position is D major scale. Fingering type 1, like C major in 2nd position. Here's the D major scale exercise in the 4th position. 1, 2, 3, 4. One of the odder parts in this is the first measure on the third line. B, A, G, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, back to G natural, then in thirds. On to page 120, where we have the third of the 4 most commonly used scales in the 4th position, and this is the key of A. The major scale fingering is the fingering type 2, which is 2nd finger on 6th string. Make sure you practice the first lines of each of these exercises which state the scale. Here is A major scale fingering type 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was the A major scale in the 4th position. The next scale we're going to do is the E major scale in the 4th position. That's using fingering type 3. Remember? 4th finger on the 5th string, that's where the root is. Also remember that E has a D sharp. That's the only difference between A major scale and the E major scale. So if we know an A major scale, E major scale, D sharp, D sharp, D sharp. Here is E major scale in the 4th position using fingering type 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the most commonly used scales in the 4th position. These exercises are very difficult to read, so you really have to work at the fingerings and play very, very slowly and try and focus on the notes that you're playing, just not the fingering. Of course, the hardest part of these exercises are the arpeggios that are stated in the last line of each of these exercises. Let's look at page 119 again. We're in the key of G and we're playing last line G. in the last line of the D major exercise. Here's the D major exercise with arpeggios. The last line of the A major exercise on page 120. And the last line of the E major scale. If you can play those and recognize the notes, you are saying to yourself that I know the area of the guitar much better in the fourth position. It's one thing to play things scale-wise, but another thing to read melodies that include arpeggios and leaps.